problem. Very cool.
All right, so we should be seeing it on Facebook momentarily.
Awesome. Oh, I wonder if it's that scheduled post that you put. Does that automatically turn into live?
I think it's supposed to, but I'm not
Or
sure
is it
that
a
it
brand new
does. It
post? I
may
wonder
be
if
a
it's a
brand
brand
new
new
post.
post. Okay, cool. Very cool. I'm very excited. This is awesome.
Yeah, it takes a minute to get everything.
Yeah, sure, sure. I am so game for this. So down. So excited, man. There we go. There we are. We
Cool.
are live. For some reason, my image is kind of coming in a little funky. We got some viewers. I wonder if that's just my Skype. Let me see here. Okay. Yeah, for some reason, my image, I wonder if there's a way of fixing that. Boy, it's really coming in bad.
You're a little. It's just through it's Skype. Sometimes you get really good signals, and sometimes you do not. Folks, Professor Nez and I are live, obviously, on Facebook, where I'm setting it up to where we're on Periscope and Instagram as well. Bear with me for a moment, and the show will begin.
Hey guys, how you doing? I'm going to share this out. We are going to be talking live streaming. I'm so excited. Thank you, Todd, for having me. This is awesome, dude. What a great setup.
Oh, I'm thrilled to have you on. Now, Instagram will stop at 1 hour, and also the Instagram has a latency. There's a slight delay in the sound because the sound going to Instagram is going straight through my mixer, but the video is coming from Facebook, and Facebook delays things. Folks, thank you for joining us. We've got 2 people on Facebook. We've got 2 on Periscope and Instagram Live. I don't know that we're showing anybody. We just went live there. So we are live everywhere except I have to click one button on YouTube. And
awesome. I'm going to share this out. Oh, I wish my image was coming in better. Is there a way of changing the settings?
No, I don't think so.
On
I think
Skype at all, like the video, like changing it to HD. I mean, you're coming in great.
Well, yeah, because I've got control of my end, but we're kind of dealt what Skype is dealing us. Okay, we're live on last time I had to go live on YouTube, I had to hit a button, but
okay, I'm going to share this out as well to my personal profile.
People just got a sneak peek of. Okay, so let's see here. Tell me when you're ready, and we can get going.
I'm ready like Freddy.
So, folks, thank you for joining us. We are live, a quadcast. It is YouTube Live, Facebook Live, Periscope, and Instagram. Thank you for joining us. We just got a load of people on Instagram. Instagram, folks, you will get a lag in the sound between what you see coming out of my mouth and the sound that you're getting. That is because I'm recording one iPad with another. But the sound is coming straight from my microphone. So you're getting the sound right out of my mouth, but the video is slow to follow. Today I have Professor Nez, and I'm doing a podcast within a live video, folks, just to let you know what's going on here. I am going to do a soft introduction. Nez and I will talk for a minute, and then I will queue up the podcast recording, and that's going to be the majority of the show, so I can record it and send it to iTunes here in a couple weeks. Once I have a few shows under my belt, I'm going to send all the content to iTunes at one time, so there's something there for people to enjoy. So anyway, Professor Nez, he is local to me in Orange County, California. I believe he's in Aliso Viejo. He is a self-described freeway flyer. He's a professor with, I guess, no real permanent residence at any one college. I know he does Cal State Fullerton and Chapman. I think he does some education at some other schools. He can fill us in on those as well. But he teaches writing, and he is a social media and live video professional. He self-taught. He picked this up and finds it as a fascinating an amazing way to get your message out there, reach the people, help others out, have fun, grow your list of friends and acquaintances. I mean, all that. And we'll get into that in just a moment. But how are you doing today, Professor?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic, Todd. This is so sweet. I apologize for the image on my end is not coming in that great, but hopefully we can just, circumvent that and jam pack this with some great
It's
conversation.
coming in really good. Well, you know what? It just phased in and phased out. I think this
cool.
is something that is Skype related today. I don't think it's anything that we can do. We had a great image of you just a minute ago when you started speaking, and it kind of fuzzed out a little bit again.
Oh, okay. So maybe it has something to do with my Wi-Fi or something. I hope it doesn't. But,
are you on Wi-Fi today?
I'm hardwired in. I did that on purpose. I should be locked and loaded, but who knows? Maybe my kids are using the iPads and stuff. But anyway, so excited to be here, and it's going to be awesome. And I can't wait to talk to you. And I just want to say before we get going, if I may, Todd,
sure.
Kudos to you, dude. I think that what you're doing, what you're producing, what you're executing is just phenomenal, and I just am really impressed, and I'm grateful to talk to you, my friend.
Well, I'm thrilled to have you on. I noticed one thing. Can you turn your camera a little bit towards your left? I think it's your left. Just tilt. Yeah, there you go. Maybe even a little more.
Okay.
You're just a little off center.
Okay.
That's
better?
That's better. That's better.
Okay.
Yeah, I had you just a little off center, and it's easier for you to tilt. Yeah, you know what? It's exciting. It's been a work of I don't know that it's been a pleasure, but putting this all together, it's a pleasure doing it now and just kind of sitting back and turning it on and going. It's you and me live video. I mean, there's a bunch of us. We're all crazy about it. And we're all looking at and seeing how we can make it better and what can we do and what can we do different. In fact, let me show you. I've got a couple opening remarks for the crowd who joins us primarily on Facebook. But this is kind of fun, and you'll see it on your Facebook feed. You won't see it on the camera on the Skype, but I've got a couple slides here. So first of all, if you want to get sound on Facebook, tap the screen. See, I've got a little hand graphic that comes up. You'll see it in a moment.
Cool.
And if you want to share it with your friends, please
That's
do.
Awesome. I saw it.
Yeah, please share it with your friends,
great.
whether you're on Facebook, Periscope. Please share this broadcast. There are probably going to be plenty of people that are going to be interested in seeing what this looks like, what you can do with broadcasting, and learn a lot about what Professor Nez is doing with live video and how he's encouraging people to use it, particularly in his classrooms. They talk a lot about social media and live video. So sharing this video is a great help to me and to Professor Nez. Comments and questions are greatly appreciated. Both Nez and I are watching Facebook comments. I'm watching Periscope and Instagram. So if you're on any of those, I'll do my best, and so will the professor, at addressing your comments.
I'm on it. I'm your man.
And then I've got one where it's just, hey, there he is, Professor Nez, all alone on screen with his contact information. Now, his social media, if you search for Professor Nez in any of those social media, you're probably going to find him, even though that's not exactly his handle on all of them. But I've found that if you search Todd.LIVE on anything, even if I have Todd.LIVE or don't have Todd.LIVE, you find me. I think you're going to find Professor Nez on all four of those platforms if you search for Professor Nez. He's going to show right up. There's not a lot of Professor Nez's in our world.
Yes. There's only one, damn it. One and one only.
Well, we'd only want one, right?
Exactly.
I mean, there can only be one. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get the podcast rolling, folks. So give me a second here, and Professor, we'll get started here in just a quick second.
Okay, cool. Fantastic. Thank you, guys. And please leave comments while Todd's doing that. Let us know where you're coming in from. Let us know how you're watching it. And let us know if you have any questions or anything like that. And really excited to talk to Todd and all of you guys. So I'm monitoring comments. Todd's monitoring comments. So I am pumped. This is awesome. I apologize for the video. Usually I'm able to kind of have a better video feed, but hopefully my voice will supersede.
You sound great. You sound great.
Hopefully, at least my audio is coming in, right? Audio is the most important, I think.
Skype videos.
You don't want to see my face.
Skype video is usually the best.
You do not want to see my face.
No, that's not. No, I don't agree with that. You got a beautiful face, man. You know, and you've got the scruff going.
Tell my wife that, will you? No, I'm
You've
kidding.
got the scruff going. All right, folks, I'm going to get the podcast going. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Welcome, folks. This is Todd Bergen, Todd.LIVE, the Create and Engage broadcast with Professor Nez. Folks, you are watching and listening to a podcast in a live video broadcast. Welcome to the program, folks who are listening on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or SoundCloud. This is recorded from a live video on May 16th. Professor Nez from Orange County, California. He is a self-described freeway flyer. He's a professor. He teaches writing and English at Cal State Fullerton, Chapman University. I think there's a few others that he's worked at as well, spreading the message of writing well, getting your message out there in a clear and concise fashion, building an audience, connecting with the audience, all that good stuff. And he has made it his practice to learn social media and live video because he sees those avenues as a great way to get your message out there in our current day and age. Professor Nez, how are you doing?
Fantastic, Todd. Thank you so much for having me, man. How are you, brother?
I'm doing fantastic. It's a great day here in Orange County, isn't it?
Oh my God. It's been beautiful. I can't believe how nice it's been. My wife loves it. So this cool weather, because I don't know if most of you guys don't know, we've had some pretty insane summers, and even most of the winters have been summers around here. So this past year, 2017, has been awesome.
Rain and cool weather. Welcome.
I know you like rain too, because I watch your Instagram stories.
I love rain.
I love you always post. It's so awesome. You're like, I love the rain, and you do this great panoramic of your neighborhood, like just watching the rain. I think that's so cool.
It's great. I love going outside, the rain, the smell of it, the sound. I love hearing it hit the roof. My studio's on the second floor of the condo, and I hear it hitting the roof, and it puts me in a trance, and I just
awesome.
love it.
I think that's such a cool thing, because I think it's the scarcity, right? It's because it happens so rarely. You appreciate it, right?
Well, for us in Orange County, I mean, we don't get it. I mean, what do we get? A few inches a year. I'm from back east, where we would get 45, 50 inches of rain, and here we get we might get 10 a year. It's crazy.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and that's what I love about you is you've got that kind of East Coast vibe and energy. You're not your typical Southern Californian, so that's great.
Well, I've been here for 20 years, and if I haven't changed by now, it's not going to happen.
No, you're done. You're cooked.
So
in a good way.
Folks, Professor Nez has his own live video show as well. It's Nez Nation Live. Professor, tell us about Nez Nation Live.
Well, actually, here's the really interesting part about Todd and I's relationship and our connection is so first of all, it's always been a dream of mine to have a talk show. I'm a communications writing professor. I'm an author. The written word, language itself, to me, in the words of Aristotle, is really the sort of ambassador of connections and networking, is the ability to use words and language effectively. So I thirst for words. I thirst for language. And I've always felt that it's the power of conversation, even in any type of context, any type of learning context, the power of conversation. I've always learned the most through engaging with people, connecting with people on that one-to-one or one-to-few kind of level, and then sharing it out. I've loved Johnny Carson. I've loved Jay Leno. I've loved David Letterman, any kind of talk show. Loved Charlie Rose. And it's always been a dream of mine to have a talk show. And I was thinking, gosh, what would I title this? It's got to have a nice title. It's got to have a nice ring to it. And I don't want it to be – it's really kind of unorthodox. You see a lot of people – and Todd's very regimented. I love Todd's strategy with his show. He's got a very specific, kind of context and background and the type of guests he has on. My show, Nez Nation Live, I'm really, trying to – I probably need more structure, but what I'm trying to do is just really invite anybody and anyone who I feel is really interesting and creative and doing groundbreaking work in their respective field and just coming to share their story, period. They can be video marketers. They can be digital marketers. They can be storytellers, podcasters. They could be cooks, chefs, police officers. I don't care. I really just love the power of conversation. That's the whole impetus. And here's what I was going to say about Todd. what should I call this? What should I title this? And I had all these really kooky titles and stupid kind of, gimmicky, chintzy titles. And then Todd messages me and says, if you don't call it Nez Nation Live, you're a buffoon. That's your
Uh,
brand. That's your hashtag. No, it was so awesome. I loved it because it put me right in check, which I needed it. And I go, holy mackerel, you know what? He's right. Nez Nation Live. That's sort of my hashtag. It's unique. It's specific to me. My Facebook group is Nez Nation. It's a tribe of creative thinkers and people who come and inspire each other. Just because it's called Nez Nation, just for the record, doesn't mean that I'm some sort of, it's not a cult or anything and I'm the leader. That's just kind of my students actually, and a lot of my Snapchat audience actually started that hashtag Nez Nation. And Todd goes, you have to call it Nez Nation Live. If you don't call it Nez Nation Live, you got another thing coming. You don't know what the hell you're doing. And I agreed 1,000%. So the reason it's called Nez Nation Live really is to the thanks of Todd.LIVE. So I owe you, my friend.
Well, thank you. We got a comment on Periscope. The name eludes me. It flashed and then came up and went away. But one of the people on Periscope said that Nez Nation would sound good with a kind of like a here's Johnny, do a here's Ned Nation or something like that. So
interesting. Yeah.
One of our Periscope friends thinks
Awesome.
that we could do something like that on an intro.
Yeah. I'm still working on the intro. Like I've probably botched the intro a million times in a row. It's kind of amazing, Todd. I know you've been keeping your eye on it. We've already done about 16, 17 episodes, and we only launched less than a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago. We've already done 16, 17 episodes, and I just love it. It doesn't feel like work to me. I'm trying really hard to make the best possible content and the best possible show I can. There's so many good broadcasts out there. Todd.LIVE is a perfect one. Ross is a perfect one. There's a lot of people doing stuff with BeLive TV that are doing amazing work. I'm not trying to compete with anybody. I'm just trying to do the best I can do. And maybe that would be a good backdrop for this conversation when talking about live video and live streaming, that you can too. This is the cool thing, is that it's kind of like what Gary says, the market will decide. If you're not quality, if you're not pulling your weight, if you're not producing anything that has any kind of engagement and power, I mean, obviously Todd is. Todd is awesome at what he does. I call him the Attorney General of live streaming. And Ross is the mayor.
Well, he knows everybody, right?
Yeah. He's awesome. Love Ross, and I can't think of a better guest to have on your show as your inaugural show than Ross Brand. And I even watched your Live Stream Stars show last night. I thought that was really cool.
Oh, well,
that
thank you.
Came in there. Yeah, and so So this is something that the market will decide, right? Just like starting a business, the market will decide if your show is making it or not. And that's what I love about this, is that this is not just – a lot of people downplay, and I'm just going to go ahead and run with this for a second, Todd.
Yeah.
A lot of people will say, well, gosh, all this ability to go live and ability to just put a button, and the barrier of entry is so minimal, produces a lot of garbage. Well, yeah, of course it produces a lot of garbage, but there's also a lot of good shows out there too. Again, the market will decide, right? I mean, viewers will decide, listeners will decide. And if you're pulling your weight and you're producing value, guess what? Your show is going to skyrocket. I had one show, Todd, the guest escapes me, but I had one show literally within the first 24 hours, we had 10,000 organic reach and over 2.5K views in the first 24 hours. And that's not boosting, folks. That's not boosting or anything. That's just straight me pushing a button, right? I mean, it's a little more involved than just pushing a button, because I'm using encoders and tri-casting and all that. I mean, not tri-casting, but dual casting. Todd's the only one I know who's doing quad casting, and just really trying to produce something valuable, right? I mean, that's what's beautiful about this medium. So, where the hell was I? That was a long answer to a short question.
Well, I mean, I get it. You're doing your thing. I mean, you can sum it up and you're doing your thing. And certainly you see what other people are doing and it gives you ideas on how you can improve what you're doing, but you're not really competing with anybody in particular out there. And you're just making your mark in your style. And I have to say, I'm doing the same thing. And I think that's what's fun about it, right? We all have things that are important to us that lead us into doing things the way we do them. You know, I got to have the quadcaster. That was my goal, or as many places as I could be at once and remain sane. And the good video and the good sound and the lower thirds that I could craft myself. And, you know, I wanted that kind of flexibility. Other people, and I was willing to put off broadcasting more to get that before I started broadcasting. There's other people that were maybe, you know, really excited to get their message out and found a lot of power in BeLive. And, you know, I don't use BeLive. I think I used it once, but I'm probably going to play with it some because I think it's a fabulous platform. And I think it's ready made for people to get started without a heavy investment. I don't even know if they're charging it or not. I know at some point they're going to turn on some sort of a fee-based structure, but you know, at least right now people are getting to play with it for free. So anybody who's wanting to go live, it's beautiful. You go on and you can do it for free. I think you have to ask for access. But it's all about what you want. I know Joel.com uses Crowdcast, and Crowdcast offers all sorts of things that BeLive or going through Wirecast and doing what I'm doing doesn't offer. So I think with Crowdcast, when people come and watch your show, they have to log in and create somewhat of an account. And when they watch Joel, I think it goes, you know, their emails go to his subscription box. I mean, what better way? I mean, I think that's true. I may be wrong on that, but I think that when you go and watch somebody on Crowdcast, whether it's Joel or anybody else, whoever you're watching your email goes into their mailing system. I think.
Really?
So that, you know, that's an interesting thing if you're wanting to build an email list, but there's a lot of barriers to Crowdcast that are going to keep masses out and make it more difficult to bring people to Crowdcast. So everything has its pluses and minuses, and we all have to figure out what's important to us and work on it in a fashion that makes sense to address, you know, our desires and our goals. And, you know, I think what you're doing is awesome. You have awesome people. And I mean, who doesn't love hanging out with Professor Nez for an hour?
I
mean,
have no idea
excellent.
Who in the world wouldn't want to hang out with Professor Nez?
On my podcast, you were on my Divorce the Workforce podcast, folks. My first podcast was Divorce the Workforce, and I haven't canceled it yet, but I haven't broadcasted anything in about a month and a half.
I was going to ask you about that because I was like, don't tell me you. I hadn't seen any because I got you subscribed on iTunes. And I hadn't seen any new episodes in a while, and I was like, "Oh, so he's moving, he's pivoting into Engage the World," which I think is awesome.
I am pivoting some, but I haven't decided if I'm going to continue with the Divorce the World. I love that podcast and what I'm doing over there, but I haven't really decided. I need to either, you know, wrap it up or keep going with it. But you were on my podcast, and one of my strongest and most avid listeners is my mother. And, you know, she loves to listen to these podcasts. And, you know, she really, I mean, she's been known to stop the car and call me about a podcast she's listening to, something somebody said. And I know that she dropped what she was doing to call and talk to me about your podcast.
No way.
You know, the three that stick out to me, my mom either stopped her car or made us extra effort to call me about three people. And here, let me tell you who they are. It's you, it's Roberto Blake, and it's Kendra, Kendra Stevens. I think her last name is Stevens. It eludes me right at the moment. Kendra Wright. It's Kendra Wright. I knew a Kendra Stevens back in the day from high school, so I always think it's Stevens. But Kendra is... she's just awesome. The Year of Fear. My mom loved her podcast. My mom became a follower of her.
Oh my God,
and
that's so awesome.
My mom, I think she stopped the car to call me about Kendra, and my mom thought Roberto Blake was just one of the most phenomenal people she had ever listened to. But you know, she actually called me about a lot of people, but those three, you and the other two, really stick out because she was just dazzled. My mom was a speech and communications major, so she found your podcast.
Thanks, Mrs. Bergen.
Yeah,
this is Professor Nez saying hello, and thank you so much. That's so sweet.
Yeah, she loved your podcast. But
that's awesome.
You know, you talked about having a conversational style podcast, and that's what makes your live videos or having you as a guest, podcast live video, doesn't matter. I mean, you're just so much fun because you know how to get the conversation going, keep it moving, have fun. Let the conversation go where it goes, and you're a good listener. Like, you pick out the kernels. Ross and I were talking about this last night, and I do the same thing. You pick out kernels of things that people talk about that maybe you haven't learned about them prior to the conversation that you're having, and you pursue them. and just let the chips fall where they may and have fun seeing where the conversation's going to go.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's the thing with a lot of, and maybe this is a good thing to talk about, or kind of an idea that I've been kind of ruminating about is like most people, their big fear. I'm actually trying to get a live stream masterclass going. Masterclass. I don't want to say masterclass, but I mean it's just a kind of workshop, if you will, where I'm trying to get gain some traction, get some students, and make sure that people can understand that this is not something that requires maybe so much over analytical thinking that a lot of people have been putting into it, and that you too can go live, and it's a great way to engage with your audience even if you don't have a business or brand. And yeah, it's like if every conversation that I've ever had that had any kind of power or impact or magnitude, it wasn't so premeditated, or it wasn't so pre-regimented. It wasn't so, okay, now we're going to talk about this, or now we're going to talk about that, or how about you respond to this? And again, this isn't to say don't have strategy. This isn't to say go live without intention. I think intention is really important, but also I think it's really, really important to let go and let come what come, let what may happen happen, and allow the conversation to sort of unfold. And if you pay really close attention, and if you're riveted and engaged in the conversation, those nuggets, those beautiful sort of talking points, they'll just kind of come on their own if you're paying attention. And you talked about this on my show. So everybody watching and listening right now, Todd came on my show, Nez Nation Live, which actually you can catch the replay on YouTube. And the entire show, we really kind of focused on, and it wasn't planned. The conversation just sort of rolled into how to become a talk show host or how to run your own podcast. And Todd said something so poignant, and I think Todd is a master at this. Listening. Listening is key. Really just paying attention and listening to the conversation. And you'll naturally, so a lot of the material, a lot of the questions will arise from the actual conversation itself. So if you're worried about what am I going to ask this guest, what am I going to ask this host, I always have like ideas of what I'm going to ask and concepts, and I have some written down, and sometimes I don't have to write it down. But usually the conversation just kind of takes over. And if you're listening intently, like you said on my show, it'll just naturally unfold, right? I mean, when in your life have you ever had a conversation where everything was, so mechanical and automatized, if you will, and kind of scripted, and it actually turned out okay? I mean, usually the conversation, it's a living, breathing thing, right? Conversation, it kind of takes a life of its own. I mean, that's my take on it. And I think if you pay attention and if you listen, it will happen. It will be beautiful. And if it's not beautiful, if there's a lot of, that's even more interesting sometimes when things take a weird, wild turn, right? I mean, this gets into just really a lot of macro concepts like adaptation and being flexible. But I mean, that's really the key, I think. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I completely agree with you. You've got to, if you have a script, then the audience is going to pick up on it, and it's going to get boring quick, and they might tune out. I mean, for instance, let's say I have a script and I ask you a question and you talk for, 2 or 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes. And within your answer, you have something really cool that you kind of briefly touch that warrants development. But when you're done speaking, I go on to my next question that has really nothing to do with the first question and doesn't explore that little nugget of information that was maybe something worth exploring. I mean, people are going to pick up on that. And it's just, I mean, quite honestly, I haven't seen anybody doing that in live video. I have heard it in podcasting. But I don't know, does live video kind of naturally discourage that? I mean, you're on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
If I had a notepad, people would see it. I mean, I guess I could, if I want to look at my notepad, I could change the image to just you, which I do when I want to take a drink of water. Or when I want to highlight you because you're talking about some cool stuff and I'm just listening. So I'm going to give you the stage there. But, I think the audience would pick up on it. I mean, or maybe not. I mean, I think you would pick up on it. I think I would pick up on it. It would
Yeah,
bore the hell out of me.
I agree. I think again, I want to be very, very clear. I talked to Molly Mahoney on this. I know you. I think you know who Molly is. God, she is a fireball and a half, and she's doing amazing stuff with live video. She was a recent guest on the show. It was actually an impromptu show where we were actually just having a sort of meeting, and then we turned to let's go live because we were doing so much. We were having such a powerful conversation, and I've been meaning to get her on the show, and her booking schedule, didn't really allow for it. And we talked about this as well. And it's interesting. Like you have to. I want to be very crystal clear about it. You have to have intention. I think you have to have a purpose. Like you're going live to have a purpose to talk about, to create and engage, grow your audience, talk about live video, and discuss, your interesting topics that you have. But you always leave room, right? You always leave room. It's kind of the same thing I teach my speech students, and hopefully Mrs. Bergen, if you're watching or listening, she'll probably get a kick out of this. Is, I tell my speech students all the time, if you go up there and you're giving your presentation and you're just reading, right? You're just looking at your cue cards or your index cards, or even worse, a big large piece of paper, and you're just really reading to your audience. And it's okay, nerves are going to be a part of it. But if you're just reading verbatim, right, your audience is gone, right? I mean, you start getting into this monotone. It starts becoming very, very tedious and very sort of mechanical, if you will. And your audience is gone, right? They're completely gone. I also don't believe that, and this is what I talked about with Molly, you don't just come on, press live, and just vomit on the camera, right? I mean, it's not just about just because a lot of live, people who go live, I mean, especially, Facebook, 2 billion users, right? You see a lot of vomit, you see a lot of garbage, just people just whatever, right? I mean, it happens, right? Thankfully, you have a choice whether you can view that or not. Thankfully, you can unfollow, follow, what have you. Again, I think the market decides. But I try to go in the middle. So here's my thing: not too verbatim, not too mechanical, never mechanical verbatim, but also not just, hey guys, here's Professor Nez, right? Just like Todd, you have a very organized professional. I want to be professional, just like Todd.LIVE and Ross. So I go in the middle, which is, not completely verbatim, not completely sort of pre-regimented, but also definitely not so spontaneous, more extemporaneous delivery where I know my concepts, I know what I want to talk about, but I also know that I want to give my guest full reign, right? I want to give my guest on the show as much of an opportunity to kind of speak their piece and talk about what they want to talk about and listen and just allow for the conversation. So malleability, leaving room for flexibility and allowing what may come to come, because we know life, the famous line, you want to make God laugh, make plans, right? It's, you have to leave some room for flexibility. So my students who have everything so planned and verbatim with their speeches, if God forbid somebody sneezes,
Right.
because they've planned every word to a T, if God forbid somebody walks into the room late, or if God forbid somebody, drops their phone or pen, they're done. They're toast because they didn't think, oh my God, I lost my place, or God forbid an index card falls out of their hand because they're shaking from nerves, right? They're
Yeah.
lost and they're gone, and the audience is gone, and so don't be so pre mechanical and pre planned, but also don't just vomit on the camera. I'm trying to be somewhere in the middle. I'm probably looser than I should be.
Thanks for all the love on Instagram. Hey, you're right. Vomit on the camera. I love it. You probably need to trademark that or something. Come up with some phrase that, hey, don't vomit on the camera. Or
look at Todd, the entrepreneurial brain, always at work.
I love phrases. I love phrases. I love coming up. Somebody gave us a bunch of love on Instagram, and as a matter of fact, Chris Cubby came in and said hello on Instagram. Folks on Instagram.
Yo, Chris.
Yeah,
love Chris Cubby.
He's awesome. I've got to get him on the program. Folks on Instagram, the reason why you get a delay in sound is because it is coming straight from my microphone and it is recording Facebook, which has a lag. So there is always going to be a slight delay in sound on Instagram, unfortunately, until they open the API and I can send a signal directly to Instagram. But Chris Cubby, He's just great. We've both hooked up with him and got to have some good talks with him, and he's just fabulous. I can't wait to see him again. I don't know if he's going to be at VidCon this year. And hey, Terry, my mom is on board now on Instagram. So
hey, Mom.
Yeah,
it's Professor Nez saying hello, Mrs. Bergen.
Yeah, she's listens to the podcast, and I think this is the first time she's joined us on a live video. So I'm excited
awesome,
to have her.
Mom. We love you, Mom.
Yeah, She just
Hope
got
you
back
had a
from
good Mother's Day.
She just got back from Ecuador, so who knows where she is today?
Wow.
It's like, where in the world is Terry?
That's amazing. You go, Mrs. Bergen. You go, girl.
Yeah, she's a birder, so she'll travel long distances and risk life and limb to see some little bird that's in a spot somewhere.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she's a birder.
Awesome.
So anyway, going back to what you use live video, but you also use social media a lot. So one thing I have to ask you, being a professor and you do have your career, how do you find time for all this? Because you've got to craft your message, you've got to figure out where to best use your time and where you're going to reach the people. And it seems like you're everywhere. I mean, you're on Instagram, you're on Snapchat, you're on Instagram Stories, Instagram Live, it seems like everywhere I turn, Professor Nez is there. I don't know. Do you have 35 hours in your day, or, what's going on with that?
I work 24/7, Todd. You know why? I tell my students this all the time. I work 24/7. You know why I work 24/7, Todd? Because my wife likes Louis Vuitton purses, and that shit's expensive.
Right. Yeah.
No, but no, you're right. It's interesting. I've been thinking a lot about this. This is a great question. This is a fantastic question. I'm gonna kind of be as honest as I can. It's too much. It's probably too much. I'm trying to kind of be in a lot of places, and I've recently kind of tried to focus more on a few things rather than more things. I was of the mindset. I think we talked about this. I think we did. First of all, I love it. And I'm a storyteller. My thing is story. I love telling stories. I think we as children, when we're growing up, the reason why stories are so powerful is because we learn the human condition. We learn how to conduct our lives. We learn about our fellow man, our fellow woman. Stories are everything. I think the best brands, the best companies are the best at storytelling. I really feel storytelling is at the apex of everything that we have to discover who we are and discover ourselves and discover our family and friends and fellow human beings. I call Snapchat 21st century storytelling, right? It's 21st century story. Everything is video. It's all the same too. It's just the medium has changed, right? Instead of writing letters, instead of writing these long Henry James type novels and, writing essays and writing all these huge laborious tasks and handwritten documents, the medium has shifted, right? So the medium has shifted. Technology has produced this setting for us to communicate in a whole new way. And so these real quick, concise, tight video conversations, I think the future of, communication, well, it's right now. Forget the future. It might even change. Who knows? Right now, the predominant form of communication is capital V video. And the Cadillac of video, I would say, is live video because of that interaction. I mean, how sweet would it have been if Mark Twain could have gone live and actually engaged with his audience? What if Abraham Lincoln could have went on Facebook Live and actually engaged with the Southerners and said, hey, you've been hearing a lot of crap in the news. I'm going to tell it to you right now how it is. I think he would have loved this technology. I think Shakespeare would have loved this technology, right? I think JFK, all these, any figure, you can pick anybody. This is the predominant form of communication. So I love it. But I also think that every platform has its own specific context and specific audience. I try to be everywhere as much as I can, but I think it was taking its toll, and I think it's a little bit too much. I used to think that, hey, why are all these people complaining? Oh, you're spreading yourself too thin, or you shouldn't be on all these different platforms. You need to focus. You need to focus on one. I was like, screw that. What do you mean focus on one? I want to be everywhere. I think if you really truly feel that your message is important If you don't feel your message is important, then what the hell are you doing, right? But I actually believe in what I'm saying. I believe in the fact that I think education right now is a bust. I'm a professor, right? I teach all over the planet. I really truly feel that education right now is a big con. And it's really, I feel for my students, right? I feel for them. And it's not providing real world value. So the whole purpose of me even doing all this is to bring all of my expertise, my 30 years in storytelling and education, and bringing it to people and actually creating something where people can actually use it, right? Actually use this stuff in their lives, right? And have an impact, hopefully, you know. So I believe in it. So that's why I was amplifying to all these different platforms. I've recently decided, maybe I shouldn't be doing that as much because there is actually a truth to spreading yourself too thin. And I haven't been snapping as much. I haven't been Instagramming as much as I have been lately. I've been focusing on my YouTube channel. I'm sure you're aware of that because it's just been something that's really it's important for me to do, and I've been focusing on my Facebook live show. Those are the two platforms I've really been focusing. I love Snapchat. I love Instagram. I recently upgraded my Instagram account to a business profile, learning a lot from Sue B. Sue B, if you're watching, big shout out. And I just think that this is the most powerful fun. If you're not having fun doing this, if you're not enjoying doing this, then get out. I mean, to me, here's the thing. Here, and I'm sorry, Todd. I know I'm rambling.
No, no.
Here's the thing. I want to wrap it up right here. If you're doing what you love, if you're into it, if you truly believe in your message, I truly believe, Todd Bergen, Todd.LIVE, you'll never work a day in your life because it doesn't feel like work. It's a labor of love. Yeah, I joke around. I work 24/7. Yeah, I joke around. I'm doing things from morning, noon, and night. And yes, I've got plans to be with my family. I've got plans to, and to be honest, have I been neglecting family time? Hell yes, I have. I've been working really hard. I've got plans once the semester ends to really refocus all that and get a little bit more in tuned with and give more time to my kids and my family. But if you love what you're doing, I think if you believe in your message, if you truly in here, in your gut, in your heart, believe that what you're communicating and what your vision is actually can help people, it doesn't feel like work. It's not work. It's a labor of love, right? I don't feel like it's work. I love doing it. If I had more than 24 hours, if I didn't require sleep, Todd, I'd be doing it, man, as much as I can, right? If it didn't affect my health, if it didn't affect my family, I'd be doing it 35/7, 45/7, right? 45/9.
Yeah, well, you know what I find interesting, okay, I love your comment that education is a con. I couldn't agree more. And what I like about talking to you and hearing you say that is I've been saying for the last 20 years since I got out of law school that education's a con. It's a shell game. It's a business. You just waste time going after these degrees. And I'm decorated with degrees. I've done it all. And, do I use them today? I guess I do in a, kind of a roundabout way, but, and I'm happy that I have them, but knowing what I know today and seeing what I see today, if I were 18 years old and coming out of high school, I would hope that either I decide not to go to college and run away from it like the plague, or my parents are smart enough to have taught me not to do that and instead do something else.
I love what you said there, Todd. Let me shut I'm so sorry. There's somebody out here. Let me shut my window really quick. It'll only take a second. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, folks, if you're watching and you've tuned in on Facebook, be sure to tap the screen for sound and be sure to...
Sorry about that.
That's all right. Be sure to share this video with friends and family. Feel free to comment. We haven't had any comments on Facebook yet. It'd be lovely if somebody decided to comment on Facebook.
Yeah, I think people are thinking that we're not able to see the comments. I think so. So guys, please have questions or have comments. Please make sure that you're posting. I'm monitoring. I know Todd is monitoring. So yeah, please leave comments. I would love to. And by the way, if you're watching this on the replay, leave comments, leave questions. I'll come back. I come back and respond to all the comments. I know Todd does too. So please do this. If you're watching this, if you're not watching this live, thank you for watching. A, and B, please make sure you leave some comments, questions, thoughts, anything in the comments. But I
Well,
wanted to say something really quickly, Todd, if I
yes.
can, just to clarify about the education thing. Not all of it is, but if you want to go be a doctor, and I mean, obviously you need schooling, right? If you want to do things that are very specialized and require, right? But if you're going to school for business, if you're going to school for liberal arts or what
Well,
have you, I mean,
I would argue
there's
that
so much.
I
and,
would
and
argue.
here's the thing: even if you're going in, I think for medicine, I mean, I don't know what medical school is like. I can only speak for my context. I was talking to an educator last night who is crushing it as an entrepreneur. She's doing a lot of great products in the canine industry, in the dog care and dog training industry, and she's a tenured professor, and it's just insane the amount of I came from the private sector before I went into education, and I thought education would be a sanctuary. I thought there'd be more camaraderie. I thought there'd be more support. And I talked to David Holzmer about this, Dr. Holzmer, on my show about this 400-year-old thinking. The lunatics are running the asylum, Todd. And I was talking to this tenured professor, and we both. I came from the private sector, and the private sector has its cutthroat, has its backstabbing, has its all that, right? And I thought education would be a sanctuary. People would actually encourage experimental thinking and new thinking, and actually trying to incorporate all the latest technology and what the younger generation is doing. They don't want any part of it, Todd.
No.
They don't want any part of it. Most of the dinosaurs are running the schools. The dinosaurs, it's dinosaur mentality. They have absolutely no clue what's happening in the real world. And the scary thing is they don't give a rat's ass. And that's why I am so passionate about starting my online academy, and trying to create actual courses that actually give value, that actually have practical application, right? That resonate with real world stuff. Because in the real world, all right, there's just some things that just don't scale, right? They just don't resonate. The things that you're learning in history or geometry or algebra or economics, even, or business communication, it blows me away. And plus, it's really, a lot of them are even underqualified, right? And I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus. I mean, there's a lot of hardworking teachers out there, and God bless their soul and their hearts. And I'm speaking kind of generally, and I'm only speaking from my experience.
Sure.
And I know you are too. But here's the thing, I've been hearing a lot more and more. I've been talking to a lot of educators. I've been talking to a lot of entrepreneurial professors, which is kind of what I consider myself, who are saying the same thing, is that they're noticing that, my God, it's just such a disconnect. There's such a disparate disconnect. Hey, Jonathan. Jonathan just joined. Good to see you, Jonathan. There's
Awesome.
such a disconnect between the tenured faculty, okay, the people, the dinosaurs who've been there for years and years and years, just resting, complacent. They don't give a rat's ass if the students get any value. They're just getting their benefits and getting their paycheck. And I get that. But these poor students, that's who I think about. I think about the poor students who are spending all this money, and when they come out of college, they're not even 100,000, they're hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, right?
Right.
And they can't get a job with that piece of paper because they weren't taught anything of any value, right? In the real world. And they feel like, well, all I need to do is turn in my piece of paper. Here's my resume. Here's my piece of paper that says I graduated. What, you mean there's more? You mean I have to actually do more? I have to actually communicate. I have to actually articulate. I have to actually provide value and actually, package myself as an asset to your company. I thought all I needed to do was scoop my piece of paper across the table and you're going to hire me. Sorry,
Mm-mm.
guys. It's just not, that has nothing to do with the real world. I'm sorry. And so I'm trying really, really hard. And this maybe answers your question, Todd, about, why you're everywhere on social media, because I believe in my message. I mean, this sounds kind of chintzy and bumper stickery, but I really do. I mean, I'm very passionate and I believe in what I'm doing. And, come hell or high water, I'm going to go all in. And I know I'm going to succeed because it's important. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, and what going back to, what I like about hearing this from you is, I come from the perspective of, I mean, you're educated obviously, but you're also the educator. I've never been the educator professionally like you've been. So you've seen both sides of it. I've seen the one side as the consumer, as the educated, going to school, getting a degree, getting a law degree. Here's why I think it's all a scam, even medicine and legal or whatever.
Yeah, please. I love your. And by the way, you are an educator, because I love, maybe not a professional educator or whatever the hell that means.
Right.
But I listen to your snaps. I listen to your Instagrams. I listen to your podcast. You are educating, my friend. Don't get it twisted. I love your stuff.
Perhaps.
You're educating, informing in your own unique way, and probably a more practical, real way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I think the world has changed. Like you said, the schools are run by the dinosaurs, and I agree. I mean, look, if you want to, let's say you want to do medicine, you're going to have to get a 4-year degree first, right? So you're going to have to get all the basics down, and that,
true. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Do you really? I mean, most of the stuff that you're going to learn in undergraduate, do you really need it for medicine? No, it's a hoop you have to jump through.
That's
okay, and it's an expensive hoop, and
it's a very expensive.
Yeah,
hoop.
Not just in money, but more importantly in time. It's a very expensive hoop, and it's a giant dice roll. Okay, because let's say you get it. Well, first of all, when you get out of high school, you're not going to really know what you want to do. Who does? So you're going to go to college, and let's say you decide you want to go to medical school sometime during college, or even after you get your 4-year degree. It's like, well, I guess I'll go to med school. It's a big dice roll on one thing, a degree in medicine. And a lot of those people flunk out. Same thing in law. A lot of those people flunk out. They don't make the cut. And flunking out in law school is getting less than a 78%. So you're really not flunking. They just curve it, and they don't keep you if you're below a 78%. Some schools may have a higher.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, and in law school, when I was in law school, everybody was at a 78%, or most people were right at 78%, and they were just a breath away from being flunked out. And then the way the curve worked, there were very few people up by 95, 100. But the mass, the majority of the people were all caked around 78%. So one slip in some class and you're gone. And so it's a huge dice roll. Now, people like to tell me, well, being an entrepreneur or going out and doing the type of things we're doing, that's a dice roll too. But guess what? I'm not spending, I can turn on a dime. I start Divorce the Workforce. As I'm developing Divorce the Workforce, if I find that, gosh, I've got a real excitement for broadcasting, which includes podcasting, video, live video, all that, I can pivot, and it doesn't cost me a lot to pivot. In fact, everything I bought for Divorce the Workforce carries over for the most part. And I can work it, and I can turn on a dime. But when you start investing in college, there's a lot of money, and there's a lot of expectations from the people who are paying you to go or paying for you to go. And there's that idea, like, I mean, I didn't pass the bar the first time, and it was like, well, gosh, I've got to take it again, even though I didn't want to. In fact, I didn't even want to finish law school. By the time I finished law school, I like knew that this is not what I wanted to do. But I was so heavily invested in it. I didn't want to turn on a dime and just throw it all away. And, what does that do for you? You got to finish some things, right?
Absolutely.
But I mean,
you're almost pressured to finish it too,
you
feel like, God, I've already invested all this time and money. I mean, I can't just quit now. I mean, and plus you never know. What if you need it down the line? And what if the value of that degree has a different kind of impact or different kind of currency, right?
But I mean, think about what it costs to go to undergraduate and go to medical school. Now, let's say they trim the fat. Let's say that you want to be a doctor, and they trim the fat at the undergraduate level where you're not having to take, I had to take tribal women of Kenya for a cross-cultural requirement. So I learned about somebody that was not white. And, I don't have a problem with that necessarily.
The most valuable course you'll ever take in school.
You know what? It actually was kind of an interesting class. But why am I taking for whatever I'm doing? I'm not gonna be deworming orphans in Africa or anything. So why are they forcing me to take that class? So there's all sorts of classes that I'm taking, and I intended to go to law school at some point in my life. So why am I taking all this? Why do I have to take science and chemistry and all these other things that have nothing to do with the law? So if you could trim the fat and you go to undergraduate and you strictly take the things that are in line and prepping you for your postgraduate work. Now, I will say that I could negate what I just said to some degree, because the best students in law school all had math and science backgrounds. I didn't know that. No one told me that. I figured that history and writing and speech communications would be the best things for a legal education. But no, the science and math were really the best, because it's a formula. You're learning formulas, and you can't go outside the formulas. And that's how you learn to write and communicate in the legal field. Is it's a formula, and anything extra is just nonsense that nobody needs. So that was an interesting thing. But my point is that the undergraduate's very bloated. It's a business. They want you to take all these classes, buy books.
Education is a business.
Yeah.
It's a super, super business.
And you're heavily invested in all this for the chance at maybe one or two things, right? I mean, if you go for a liberal arts degree and then you want to do something postgraduate, I mean, how many things are there for you to choose from? If you go and you get an accounting degree in undergraduate, what are you going to do with that? You're going to become an accountant. I mean, you spend 4 years and a lot of money for one or two choices. And as you age and mature, you might end up hating what it is you chose when you're choosing what you're choosing with the rest of the herd. You're not going to get to sample it before you get to it. And,
right.
It just seems like a terrible waste of time and money when people can take a lot less time and money and turn on the internet and get clever, get a camera, get some equipment, and just figure out something. There's so
create your job. You can create your job now with the opportunities that are out there. And you can, and what I love about this country is we have so much opportunity, right? We have so much at our fingertips. I mean, literally at our fingertips, and you got to get innovative. I'm not saying, and not everybody is creative. Not everybody is innovative. I mean, we do need workers, right? I mean, that's what the colleges produce, workers. That's what they really produce. They don't really produce innovative, groundbreaking, revolutionary type thinking, individuals. But and I'm not judging anybody. I'm not judging anybody. It's fantastic. If that's what you want to do, that's awesome. Whatever
Agreed.
makes you happy. But it really, what really bums me out, Todd, is when I get students emailing me, when I get students who've taken my course, they come to me and they say, Professor Nez, what do you got for me when I spend $100,000 on this degree and I've already gone on 12 interviews? And I can't find a job. I'm in debt. I'm living with my parents. I'm 27 years old. I don't have a life. And then the emotional impact, right? The kind of mental trip that entails, right? Never mind the fact that, they feel like they've, their life has been, they've been working towards a goal that doesn't produce any really satisfiable end. The kind of dejection and the sort of discouragement that creates in an individual, not only is it detrimental to their pocket, it's detrimental to their heart and their mind and their soul, and that kills me. I mean, it just kills me. Well, did you learn how to did they teach you how to interview? Did they teach you how behavior matters? Did they teach you how to communicate? Did they teach you how to make eye contact? Did they teach you how to articulate your asset to that organization? No, Professor Nez, I never took a class on that. No, Professor Nez, they never taught me this. No, Professor Nez, I just shoved my resume across the table. I just shoved my degree across the table. I thought that's all I needed to do. No, there's a crap ton more you need to do. And this is, it's like, and I'm seeing a lot more articles about this too, Todd. I'm seeing a lot more. And where am I finding it? In social media. Where am I finding it? I'm finding it in actual, people who are trying to do something different. People talking about their experiences in the real world, and why communication is so important, and why the ability to speak your purpose effectively, concisely, is everything, right? And understand your story, understand your purpose is everything. Because if you don't understand your purpose, if you don't know who the hell you are, why should anybody else care? Right? I mean, how are you going to decide what you want to do with the rest of your life? How are you going to decide this is the person I want to have children with? This is the person I want to marry. If you don't know who you are, you got to start there. Aristotle said that if an education is solely about the mind but excludes the heart, is no education at all. Now, I know Gary's talking about self-awareness, and I'm not trying to crap on Gary, but I've been talking about that for 25 years, Todd, and Aristotle's been talking about that for 2,000 years, right?
Absolutely.
And I love Gary. I'm not dissing Gary at all, but self-awareness is an old concept. It's a very beautiful traditional concept. Knowing who you are, understanding what makes you tick, understanding how you can leverage that story and produce something of value to the world is capital E everything. And we're not teaching that. We're not teaching that in schools. We're not teaching that in schools.
No,
it's sad.
not at all. And I echo, I love Gary too, but there's probably not one thing that Gary has said ever that hasn't been said before through the,
Absolutely.
you know,
And
ever
he's saying
since
it
the
in a very
beginning of
unique way.
mankind. He just might
Yeah.
put a shit in it or an F-bomb or, you know, he has his twist and his delivery but you know, he didn't invent anything here. None of us, I think everything's been thought of that can be thought of as far as motivation and, you know, getting out there and how to be. You know, what more can you add? But he's got his shtick and it works, and I think it's great, and I love his delivery. But you know, he's probably, you know, or he's got a team of people reviewing, you know, books and, you know, coming up with all sorts of ways that he can take his message. And I think it's brilliant. I love what he does.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's fantastic, and I love what he's doing. He's actually been, really crushing it lately with a lot of his. He's actually been going all in on YouTube lately too, which I've noticed. And he's fantastic. His message is fantastic. But yes, when I was watching him, when I first got introduced to him, I was thinking to myself, "Holy mackerel! This guy's taking what I do in the classroom and he's bringing it to the masses." And he was a big inspiration for me, actually, you know, when I first started in this kind of social media game. And it's not a game, you know, not to make it sound like it's a game. I really take it as, again, I think it's 21st century communications. I think it's what's gone from the phone to, you know, pen pal letters to, you know, in-person meetings and in-person conferences and in-person pitches and proposals and what have you, has gone through this beautiful medium that we have now. Nothing's changed. You still have to know your purpose. You still have to know your audience, and you still have to communicate that with value. It's just the medium has changed.
Right.
And social media is the medium. And as Marshall McLuhan says, if you don't know who Marshall McLuhan is, he was a huge communication kind of thought leader back in the early 20th century. The medium is the message. The medium is the message.
Absolutely. Professor Nez, I want to close out the podcast. I want to continue with the video for a few minutes, but real quick for the folks on the pod.
How long have we been on?
We've been on about an hour.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. It feels like it's been only 10 minutes.
For the folks on the podcast, tell them where they can find you if they'd like to learn more about you and hear more of your message.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Todd. I really appreciate it. And by the way, thank you everybody for listening. And man, is Todd not killing it or what, man? Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
So you can reach me. My handle, as Todd said earlier in the program, is Professor Nez, at Professor Nez. If you pretty much type that in Google, you'll find me everywhere. I do have my website, ProfessorNez.com. I bought a .live domain, and actually I bought two .live domains, one for my Nez Nation show and one for me. I'm working on creating a new website around that domain name, so that's going to be coming out soon. But the best way, I think, to get a hold of me or contact me is through two avenues: my YouTube channel at Professor Nez, or and I'll leave that in the comments here too, or my Facebook business page at Professor Nez. And you can sign up, you can contact me, you can follow me. I would love to hear from you. You can message me. I'm very good about getting back, as fast as I can. So I'd love to hear from you guys.
Well, listen, Professor Nez, thanks for being on the podcast. I know that you will be back as a recurring guest in the future. Can't wait to do that. Folks, in the meantime, please like, review, and subscribe. This is a new podcast, and I want to get some legs under it and get moving. So anything that you can do to help the podcast is greatly appreciated. Also, there is more content during these broadcasts on Facebook Live, Periscope, YouTube, Instagram Live when we do go live. So feel free to join us anytime when we're live. Right now, the current time is Tuesday, Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 Eastern. So with that, I'm going to close out the podcast. Please feel free to check out, if you want extra content with Professor Nez today, check out the video on YouTube or Facebook. You can find me at Todd.LIVE at either place. Thanks again, Professor Nez. I'm going to close out the podcast, and we will continue on.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening, folks. Take care and stay productive. All right. So one thing, Professor Nez, that you talked about that I wanted to get to, and I didn't want to include it in the podcast mainly because we've gone as long as we have, and I don't think podcasts do well once people have an hour and that's about it.
Oh no, I thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, you talk about going all in on YouTube, and you mentioned that Gary's doing that. I didn't realize Gary was doing all that, and I kind of sensed that you were. I decided to, mainly because I felt like I was spread too thin, going back to the too thin discussion that we had, and I felt like I was trying to be Snapchat, Instagram Stories, Instagram Live, all these things, Facebook, Twitter, Periscope.
Oh my God, with Facebook and Messenger too,
Yeah,
Messenger Day and Facebook, it's getting exhausting.
It gets crazy. So I decided, I'm gonna pare it back. I'm gonna, when I go live, I have the ability to go live in 4 platforms. So why not do that, right? But my focus right now, is Facebook and YouTube and my email list. And that's really it. I'm not really worried so much about Twitter and because I just don't have time for everything. So Facebook, YouTube, I mean, I figure as a video guy, those make the most sense. But I think that YouTube, I want to hear what you think and why you're looking at YouTube, but I think that YouTube is it. I see my 13-year-old who refuses to do Facebook, but is on YouTube nonstop. That's where people are. What's your take on YouTube? What's driving you to focus on YouTube all of a sudden?
Well, first of all, it's the second largest search engine, right, in the world.
Right.
It's owned by the first, the number one search engine in the world, right? Google owns YouTube. First of all, you got to love it. And I love video creation and I love editing. I love creating a video that has value. I'm all in on video, especially live video too. And just the two are just a beautiful, happy kind of couple. So it's a lot of fun. And having circumvented the technical challenges is the first step of audio, lighting, camera, editing, those types of things. Once you get those kind of, and I don't have them down by any means, but once you kind of get them at a level that is satisfiable for now, I mean, I'm probably going to hopefully upgrade to other things, and other softwares and what have you. It's just fun, and I've been getting a lot of great responses. And I actually watch YouTube more than I watch cable. Not that I ever have time to watch it either, but I think cable TV is dead. I really truly feel. I mean, Netflix, YouTube now has YouTube TV, and all these other companies, Amazon Prime, right? I just think that this is where it's all headed. This is what's happening, and this is a chance. You have your own channel. Again, it's another way to really amplify your message, amplify what you believe in, but in a real kind of unbelievable reach kind of way. If you learn, I've been learning a lot about SEO and ranking, and I know you're a part of Tube Ritual, which is a fantastic Facebook group where there's a lot of amazing YouTubers who are doing kind of the same thing that I'm doing: informational, inspirational, educational type of content. There's a lot. I mean, there's YouTubers out there that are crushing it using comedy and entertainment, and that's awesome. That's great. It's not really the kind of vibe for me, and what I'm trying to do. But YouTube is fantastic, and once you learn kind of the methodology, once you learn about the platform, I'm addicted. I mean, I love it. It's just fantastic, and it's an unbelievable way. I mean, I've even ranked in the first page on Google for a couple of my videos. And just getting my message out there in a very, very strong, powerful way, using the 2 top search engines in the entire planet. I think that, and Gary's, obviously clued in on this. You can see by his thumbnails, there's an art to thumbnails, there's an art to titles, and it's all storytelling, right? It's all the same thing: having a catchy title, having a hook, knowing your audience, communicating value, having a strong beginning, middle, and end. It's the same thing, but the medium has shifted. So YouTube and Facebook are, I mean, I think, unbelievable platforms. It seems like Facebook is competing with YouTube, but not really. I don't really see a lot of people.
I would disagree on that, but everything else I agree with. I think they're competing.
You think they are competing?
Yeah, I think they're competing. I mean, maybe not directly because it's not the same product. It's a different product.
The search thing is what distinguishes, I think. I mean, the search, Facebook is not a search engine, right? when people want to search a video, they don't go search Facebook, right? I
No.
mean, unless that changes. I mean, you could search Facebook, but you have to actually go actively seek out Professor Nez or Todd.LIVE. Whereas, somebody sitting in their living room, in Chattanooga could search, how do I live stream or how do I tell a story effectively, right? Which is one of my videos. And you and I can pop up and we're introduced to we're actually providing value to a complete stranger in a really powerful way. You know what I mean?
Right.
So the search utilization is, I think, why when people say Facebook is competing with YouTube, now I do think that Facebook understands the power of video and they're going all in on video, especially live video, right? And they just recently cracked down on people using live video with pre-recorded video. It looks like there was a great article that just
I
came out on
saw that.
TechCrunch.
Yep.
Yeah, and I shared that in our group, our Nez Nation group. And I do definitely think Facebook is going all in on video, and I think that they're taking advantage of that, and they're trying to basically, that's their new KPI, right? That's their kind of modus operandi right now, and they're functioning that way. But without that search ability, without that discoverability, and maybe they're going to change that. I don't know. Maybe they're working on that.
I think that'll happen over
That'll
time.
happen.
They've
think
got
Facebook
to.
will become a search engine? I think they need to.
Well, I don't know that they'll become a search engine per se, but it might be easier to maybe search for videos on Facebook than it currently is, so that you're finding content.
Right.
I watched an interesting video the other day. I think I Googled I was on YouTube and I searched for something along the lines of YouTube algorithm 2017. And the first video I think came up. It's an hour and 20-minute speech by a guy at some convention. He's got a huge channel on YouTube, and he talked about how all the reasons or all the ways that he knows that Facebook hates YouTube, and the things that he's done in testing this to kind of solidify his opinion that Facebook hates YouTube. And they see that, they're competing in a sense. I don't know if you use the word competing, but, it's like he said, when he does a video native to Facebook, he gets tons of looks. When he posts a YouTube video to Facebook, he gets nothing. Like he's literally true. Nothing.
That's actually true.
And so
same with Snapchat. If you repurpose your Snapchat content on Facebook, you get Nathan. I mean, zilch.
Yeah. So I started kind of realizing and giving it a lot of thought. And and one thing too that helped me with this, that really got me excited about YouTube, was buying a subscription to TubeBuddy. I don't know if you have a subscription to TubeBuddy.
I have TubeBuddy. TubeBuddy is absolutely essential.
And
it's essential.
I mean, being able to do a tag search before you do the video to figure out what's going to rank, and huge. So that you can position yourself to rank for certain search terms, right at number one immediately and have people searching for you. And I'm shocked at how much is available and not, gobbled up by people, gurus and whatnot already. I mean, there's lots of opportunity there, and TubeBuddy gives you the opportunity to figure this out and not just throw darts at a board with a blindfold, which is what I was before TubeBuddy. And I don't work for TubeBuddy. It's not an endorsement for TubeBuddy, and I don't get a commission for TubeBuddy if you go sign up. But it opened my eyes to what I could do. And the thing that TubeBuddy also made me realize was how difficult and tedious YouTube is to get anywhere on it. And, the spoils are there for the people who are willing to play the long game and figure this thing out. And
right.
the result is huge if you're willing to do it. And I think that people, a lot of people aren't willing to do it. It's easier to get BeLive and go on Facebook and forget about YouTube and forget about all these other things. And that's fine. I mean, it's not a knock on what BeLive is. I think it's great, and people that are using it, I'm probably going to use it more myself, actually. I don't know. It depends. But my point is that, that's one of the reasons why I'm very happy I started this Quadcast thing is I'm sending it to YouTube. And, you've got to think that the number one and number two search engines on the planet are going to reward, even if it's not happening right now, because I don't get a lot of viewership on my YouTube live videos right now. I mean, a couple people might pop in and pop out, but I'm not monitoring comments there, so I can't really interact. But you've got to think that you're going to get preferred treatment in the search engine because they're going to want that. They're going to, they see Facebook doing it.
If
they're going
you
to
do it right, it's an art. I mean, this is what
Yeah.
I'm learning. If you do it right, and it's just like what we've been talking about the entire show, right, Todd? It's about strategy. It's about
Right.
intention. What's your intention? What's your purpose? Who do you want to reach? How do you want to reach them? What are you providing for that audience, right? So, I mean, I've been learning that thumbnails is an art, ranking is an art, titling your video is an art and a science. The description is an art and a science. If you do the work, right? I mean, isn't this just here we go. This is 6,000-year-old thinking, right? This is nothing new. Just because Gary spouts about this all the time doesn't mean it's anything new. If you do the work,
Right.
I mean, it's like, to me, it's like what my dad's been telling me since I was a kid. Work your butt off and it will pay off. I mean, it's like, it's so simple. Life is not complicated. It doesn't have to be complicated. Work hard, reap the benefits, right? So with YouTube, understanding the science, the art behind every single facet, you can create value for an audience. And what's so cool is it lives and breathes, for as long as YouTube's going to be around, right? I mean, you're archiving, you're documenting, you're creating things that you can, I mean, here's another thing that's so beautiful. If I have a student come up to me, which I do all the time, and this is the real main impetus for creating the content that I do on YouTube. Hey, Professor Nez, I keep forgetting everything that I learn. Or, hey, Professor Nez, I'm nervous about giving my speech. I've got a video about that. I've got a video about that topic. Go check this out. I'll share it with them. They can watch it. They can share it with their friends. It grows. And what's more important? I mean, we talk about monetizing and all that. But to me, the most important thing is actually helping people, actually inspiring people, sharing your expertise. Todd is think about it. Todd is a treasure trove of a reservoir of knowledge and expertise. It would be a crime if he didn't share that. I mean, it would be so sad above all if he didn't share that, right? His experience in the private sector, his experience, working in business, being an entrepreneur, being a live video expert. It would be a crime if he didn't share that knowledge. And now you have an opportunity. Somebody can search on Google. Somebody can search on YouTube, live streaming, entrepreneurialism, how to amplify your message, how to go live, how to be an efficient live broadcaster, how to be a podcaster. And ToddLIVE will be in there, and you're there. You're alive. You exist. You know what I mean? It's fantastic. It's
As
fantastic.
you are. I mean, you and I have very similar messages. I mean, we both have the same passion, and we have similar backgrounds to some degree. I mean,
you're my brother from another mother. And Mrs. Bergen, you can adopt me. If you're listening, adopt me. I'm up for adoption.
Yeah. You never know. Our house, we had all the orphans at our house when we growing up in high school. All the kids that had trouble at home or didn't have a home.
I'm probably going to get fired from all my university jobs after this podcast, but I don't care. If you adopt me, Mrs. Bergen, I will be a humble and loyal son.
There you go. Well, listen, it was a great pleasure having you on the show. I figure we're at an hour and 15, or even longer.
I could talk to you for 24 hours.
I agree. Well, you know what? We need to have recurring, we have to, I think every couple months or something like that, I probably have five or eight.
Man.
Yeah, I probably have 5 or 8 people that I would love to have as recurring guests on the show.
I would love to,
even if it's just like not during the normally scheduled program, and just like, hey, let's turn on the switch and let's just talk for a half hour.
I am down like James Brown.
Yeah, I mean, and just make it happen, and some extra, some after hours kind of just let's chit chat and nonsense and focus on the crowd and see if we can get some people talking. I did want to
be real, just be real. Like if we're having a shitty day or something, just be real. We'll talk about it. Talk about our struggles. Here's, I posted something. I'm sorry, Todd, just really quick.
Yeah.
I apologize. I posted something I got a lot of comments, a lot of reactions, and talking about, basically it was just me kind of, understanding and recognizing that, holy macadamia nut, if I don't slow down, this could really get ugly. And I got a lot of comments. I got a lot of beautiful comments, but I also got some criticism, like, well, maybe, why are you doing this? Or maybe you shouldn't do that, or maybe you should. And the only reason I posted that was not to say that, I wanted pity or anything like that, but I posted that because I think social media is this, can sometimes be the most gorgeous facade, and everybody's happy-go-lucky, smiley, rainbow cotton candy lives. it's not always like that. And Todd can speak to this. I know he can. And I'm trying to just literally be as well-rounded as I can. And I think I wouldn't be honest if I didn't share that, like, there are some days where you don't want to get out of bed.
Yeah.
There are some days where the last thing you want to do is go live. There are some days that you don't want to do anything anymore. And it's important to share these things because the struggle is real. I just wanted to share that. And so, Todd, anytime you want to hang out, talk, chat, and we can be real, we can talk about our struggles, we can talk about problems, and share that and get value. I find that sometimes can be the most valuable, just sometimes. But I would love to talk to you anytime. That's the point.
Well, I'm down too. Anytime that you want to do it, let's do it. I want to do one shout out on Periscope. Please. I've had one viewer who's been with me the whole time, Grateful Gord, and he's had a lot of comments, and I think I got to address one or two of them, maybe just one of them, but he's had a lot of comments, and they pretty much echoed what we were talking about, but I wanted to thank him for sticking with the show this long. He's been with us the entire time.
Thank you, Grateful Gord.
Commenting, and it's greatly appreciated when we have guests like that, or watching. And I wish I would have been able to take on more of his comments, but I just couldn't find moments to bring him in. But I think I got one of them in. But I do appreciate him being with us, and everybody on Facebook who's been with us. I greatly appreciate that as well. Listen, folks. Thank you for watching the program. As I said, 9 o'clock Tuesday, Thursday, 9 o'clock a.m. Pacific. Thursday, I have Mike Resendez, Reezy Resells, coming on, and he is crushing it, so much so that he gets regular shout-outs from Gary Vaynerchuk. He's gotten on Gary Vaynerchuk's radar, and he's just crushing it. Talk about audience building and engaging and creating content.
Cool show.
This guy is he's just cracking the whip. So we're gonna have some fun on Thursday. Hey, Professor, thanks. So hey, when you're freeway flying past Jamboree and Culver, make sure you on the 5 freeway, make sure that you find me, and let's hook up and have lunch or something soon.
I'll send out the smoke signals. I'll do the sign in the sky. Hey, Todd, what the hell are you doing?
That's exactly right. I'd love to hook up with you and hang out, have lunch, and chit chat. Yeah. It's always nice to get away from the equipment. And yes. Gord says thanks, and I really do appreciate him sticking with us and having fun. And listen, folks, with that, I'm going to close it out. Thanks again, Professor. Let me know when you're nearby, and let's get together.
Thank you so much, Todd, and thank you so much for having me. This was awesome. Love chatting with you, man, and good luck with everything. Much success.
Thank you, my friend, and the same to you. You work harder than anybody I know, so I want all the best for you and your family so your wife can get her purses too, right? We all deal with that, right? If you're a married man, you know what we're talking about. Yep. All right, folks, have a great day.
Happy life.
Yep, absolutely. Take care, guys.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.